All right, I will call to order this meeting of the Greenfield Conservation Commission at 6:36 p.m. on April 12th, 2022. I forgot what the date was. Commissioners present include Travis Drury, Kristen, Erica. Absent are Rachel and Fletcher, who are absent with notice. Just a note up front that this meeting is being held virtually, and if any technical interruption in the meeting occur and the meeting suddenly ends, it will not be resumed, and all items will be automatically continued on the next scheduled meeting date. Also, this meeting is being recorded, and if anyone else is recording the meeting, you are required to let me, as the chair, know at this time or when you begin recording. I do not hear anyone recording, so I will assume no one is. So, first on our agenda is approval of meeting minutes, March 22nd, 2022.
I'll make a motion to
approve them.
I'll second that.
Good.
Okay. Motion to approve the minutes by Erica, seconded by Kristen. Are there any other
Sure.
comments, any discussion on the minutes? I'm just double checking to make sure I didn't have any comments. Okay, hearing no further discussion, we'll vote on the motion. I have found out that I believe all remote votes in a remote meeting need to occur by roll call. So we can do a roll call vote on approving the minutes. Let's see, I'll just use, I think in general, I'll just use the order that we're in on the website. So, Erica.
Yes.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is to approve the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
Erica, yes. Kristen?
Yes.
Okay, and I am also a yes. So, next on the agenda is a public meeting, request for determination of applicability across from 165 Montague City Road, map 1, lot 1. And do we have someone here to talk about that project? I saw on Chris and Wes, both of the boxes lit up, but I haven't been able to hear anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Wes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I just had to call in. My audio wasn't working.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I apologize. I missed everything up until now.
That's okay. We haven't done anything. We just approved minutes from our last meeting. And so now we're getting to, now we are on the request for determination of applicability across from 165 Montague City Road. Is that your project?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I believe we probably have, I can share I think we have the plans. I can share those since you can't do that since you're calling in.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. All right. Are you able to see the meeting?
Yes, I can see
Okay.
everybody's name up there. Yeah.
Okay. So you'll be able to see what we're looking at. Okay. So looks like this is existing conditions. Do you see that?
No.
No?
No.
I can see it, Travis.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well,
So I've got the black screen with each person's name in a box.
hmm. Sure. You don't see anyone's faces
But
though?
no.
Okay. Well, if I tell you what we're looking at, would that be good
Oh.
enough to describe it?
Absolutely. I'm I'm very familiar with it. I can certainly
Okay.
speak to it.
All right. So I opened up the plan and I went to the second page where it says phase one existing conditions.
Yeah.
And I believe everyone can see that except for you, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you want to just like walk us through the project, what exists now and what's going to happen, and I can try to
Sure.
mirror that with what we're looking at here.
Yeah. So we've got a work plan agreement in place with the Mass DPU, where we're supposed to, in the course of a certain period of time, perform betterment on all of our regulation stations. And this is one of them that needed more immediate attention. So, we had to accelerate the replacement of it. But so what it involves is there's an existing station there, and there's also a what we call a relief station. They're both underground with covers on them. The relief station has this big stack on it, and we are required to replace, basically upgrade the station. So in order to do that, we need to have duplicity, which means we're going to be putting two pads, two concrete pads with an above ground regulator, which is a worker, and another above ground regulator, which is a monitor. In case of failure, it's a requirement now. And the existing relief is going to be retired. So that pit that it's in, the vault that it's in is going to be collapsed and filled with clean fill. The stack is going to be cut off below grade and filled with foam. And then that area is going to be, restored with loam and seed. The existing one, there's going to be, same thing's going to happen. It's going to be collapsed and filled in. And that's where our worker station is going to be put on, basically on top of that. And then adjacent to that, 10 feet down, will be the monitor regulator. So that'll be looking southward. And so those will be visible in their completed form if you were to look at page 3. And that would be the proposed conditions. So those two rectangles.
Yep.
And that's basically the project in a nutshell. It should take approximately 2 weeks total for the entire project, the retirement of the current regulator station and the installation and putting online of the new regulator station. Any piping that is associated coming into the regulator station and going out of the regulator station is going to be tied back into the existing piping, and that should all take place in the sidewalk or just behind the sidewalk. When of course, we're gonna go ahead and install silt fences and wattles per plan. We're going to go ahead and leave the silt fence up until vegetation returns, and we're going to cover the loamed and seeded area with hay. And those are denoted where it says erosion control. It's like a solid line with 2 little dashes, and then solid again, 2 little dashes. So that's going to be around where we take out the relief more on the north side there, and then where we're going to be doing the installation, the taking out of the existing and the installation of the proposed. We're also showing that we're going to be putting silt sacks in both the catch basins that are within sight of the work. In the end, my goal anyway is to extend the guardrail so that it goes in front and protects the new regulator station, because it stops short right now. I think that's basically it.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share a few pictures from the site visit. It'll be a little hard to. Okay, so sorry, the other commissioners, Kristen and Erica, were you both at the site visit that we did for this one? Okay, Kristen was not. I couldn't remember who was there.
But I'm familiar with this area. I've been really missing that bridge, and I can't wait for that construction to be done, because that's how I go to work every day.
Yeah. Okay, so this first, wait, I'm still sharing, right? Yeah. Okay. Oops. This first picture, I'm not really sure what this one is showing. I think that
I think it's the
there's like
pipe.
there's like a pipe and then there's like a metal grate on the ground. I think that's one of them that's going to be filled. A pit that's going to be filled.
Yep, by the description, it sounds like it. Yep.
Yep. And there was like a little.
Is it right behind the guardrail, or is it not behind the guardrail?
I think that's the one that's not behind the guardrail.
Okay. Yeah, that's the existing station vault.
Okay. And we can kind of see. Oh yeah, here's looking at it, looking down at it. So that one is going to be. You're like removing the metal structure and then filling that pit,
Yes.
essentially.
Yep.
And then here's a photo showing where it is. It's on the like bottom right of the photo and showing where the guardrail is. And you were talking about hopefully having that guardrail extended to
Yeah.
back to that.
Yeah, a nice new guardrail.
Yeah. And then Kristen, there's like a tall pipe in the back, like behind that detour sign. That's where the other structure is.
Yes.
Are there any trees that need to come down as part of this proposal?
Nope, not that, I spec'd out the site and, based on our locations, no trees at all. Maybe a little bit of vegetation. There's just some rough bushes around there, but no trees.
And I think a lot of the vegetation is like bittersweet there. So
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Probably barberry. So is this a 1-to-1 ratio? You're decommissioning one structure and you're building a new structure, but is the square footage the same of what you're decommissioning and building, or what are the exact square footages?
So, yeah, to be honest with you, to incorporate the improvements that we require, the square footage is probably a little bit more. I estimate, well, in fact, I'm pretty sure both of those existings are 4x4, and we're going to have 6x4.
Can you just remind us how far you are from the edge of the road? I'm trying to think of exemptions, and if you're really, within 10 feet of the road edge, you know.
I would say probably right around 10 feet from the road edge, based on a 4-foot wide sidewalk and being the guardrail being a couple more feet back, and then maybe 3 or 4 feet behind that. So we're probably right around 10 feet from the curb, the sidewalk curb.
I don't know exactly where the estimated habitat is, but it's near the edge of the road there. Again, I think you meet the exemptions under the Mass Endangered Species Act, but that's not our jurisdiction except the estimated habitat under the Wetlands Protection Act. Have you coordinated with Natural Heritage at all? Or do you know if you're sure to meet the exemptions?
You know what? I haven't. No. So, and specifically, what would that entail? I mean, would you know what I would?
And I've got one here. Maybe this would qualify. So this is under, my mouse isn't working today. This is under 321 CMR 10.18 through 10.23. And if I look down the list, number 10 says installation, repair, replacement, and maintenance of utility lines, gas, water, sewer, phone, electrical, for which all associated work is within 10 feet from the edge of existing paved roads, is basically exempt from MISA or the Mass Endangered Species Act. Is this the replacement of a utility structure? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
So I think you're exempt under MISA as long as you're within 10 feet. And I don't even know if the heritage mapping comes all the way up there. It's hard to see. It's sort of a blurry line.
And what map is that shown on?
I can share my map, Travis, if you'll let me.
sure, yeah, I was just showing a Google Street View where that is the structure right there.
Okay.
It's literally like 1.5 feet from the sidewalk, probably, is like the beginning of the edge there.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't need to share.
Yeah, you can share.
Okay.
It sounds like we're a little closer than I was drawing out there, I guess, or calculating.
Can you see my map?
I can see it, yeah.
Okay, I'm confused as to what screen I'm sharing. So this is 165, and then you're across the street. This is the bumpy bridge right here. So it's probably like right around here.
Yeah.
Purple line is the estimated habitat, and the yellow line is the priority habitat.
Mm.
And you're probably right on the edge.
Yeah, I don't know if you can zoom in anymore, but you can see the guardrail right there. There's like one just behind the guardrail, about where that car is, like right
Oh,
on the
this
other
one?
side of the guardrail.
Or is this the guardrail?
The guardrail's like, it looks white and it's right beside that car. Yeah, it looks like a
I
white
can't zoom in
wall.
anymore. So it's right around,
Oh.
it's right in here probably.
Yeah, if I can, how do I draw on this? I'm requesting to annotate.
I approved you.
Okay, so yeah, here's the guardrail. That's the guardrail. And then like one thing they're gonna remove is one of them's like there.
Oh, really
One of
close.
them's like there.
Okay,
So they're both like boom boom right there.
gotcha. And as I said, I think that meets an exemption too, which I can't switch screens, I don't think. Here we go. And this is mass.gov. So I think you're probably fine. I don't want to tell you what to do under Heritage's jurisdiction, whether you need to submit a notice stating the exemption status or not. That's not our jurisdiction, but I think as far as we're concerned, I'm satisfied with that exemption.
Okay.
Oh, I have another question about the wattle size. Are you suggesting a compost filter tube or a straw wattle?
Straw wattles, and what I've noticed that we've been doing is laying or staking them in with the silt fence in behind. So
Are
both
you
both wattles and silt fence will be installed at the same place.
What
So
size wattle are you proposing?
um,
Like an 8-inch or a 12-inch?
hang on, I need to take a closer look. Yeah, it's not specified in the detail. I'm pretty sure we've been using, you know what? If it were between 8 and 12 inch, I couldn't tell you exactly.
It's just that slope is pretty steep going down to the river.
Yeah, I know, especially where that relief is going to be taken out. That's especially steep there. So I can make sure we get the largest wattle to put in front of the silt fence that we install there.
I think that'd be good. And if they were staked, 5 feet on center or something, just to make sure good contact with the ground surface, I think that'd be
Yeah,
sufficient.
yeah.
I think this is actually showing staked every 3 to 4 feet.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I can definitely specify to use a larger wattle at that spot.
I think that'd be good. And maybe having an extra roll of it on site just in case you needed it for an emergency, just kind of as a backup plan.
Yeah, we can do that as well.
Our boilerplate general conditions might state that. I'm not even sure. That might be a blanket condition.
Mhm. Are there any other questions?
I had just one more comment. Sorry, I don't mean to
Sure.
hog the
Go for
floor
it.
here. You had mentioned that you were going to spread hay after you seeded the completed footprint, and I was just going to ask if you're really going to be spreading weed-free straw, because you do have straw wattles mentioned, so I just wasn't sure if you're talking about straw or hay. Just for
Yeah,
spreading.
to my knowledge, we have used hay on the loamed and seeded areas, and I must confess I've not looked closely at it. So, but it specifies that we use hay.
I've heard there is a high kind of weed content in the hay, and so some commissions like to request straw. I do know
Okay.
there's a pretty big price difference between straw and hay, though, I've heard from contractors. So I don't want to push that. I mean, this is a roadside, so I don't want to push that. I just wanted to bring it up.
Okay. Well, with straw being the more expensive, right?
Yep, exactly.
Right. I don't see why we couldn't though. For such a small area, I can put that in there.
I was just looking in, I should have done this before the meeting, but I was looking in the Wetlands Protection Act to see, um, I know there's stuff about utilities in like riverfront area exemptions. Um, hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
I know there's a
I mean,
couple of exemptions that exist, like 310 CMR 10.02 and 310 CMR 10.53 that I'm looking back at. I'm looking back at another Form 1 I submitted in another city. But that applied there, where one was in the roadway,
yeah,
and it was a total, it only asked that you close the trenches at the completion of each workday, which we do anyway.
yeah. Yeah, I think the other spot where I was thinking was in 1058-6A, where it's talking about certain activities that are grandfathered or exempted from requirements of riverfront area. It lists utility line, utility. Oh, I guess I thought I don't know if utility line, what that means exactly. You know, is that, does that only like an electrical line, or is that a utility, like a gas
Right,
utility?
right.
And it says that maintenance of such structures or areas is allowed without filing a notice of intent.
And,
Benign.
and what you're reading right there was our interpretation as far as what our, you know, guidelines are, that we are exempt, as well as the overhead utilities.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the way we've interpreted it in the past as well.
This might qualify as minor in Riverfront, which as Wes just pointed out at 10.022, activities within areas subject to protection under the Act, except for minor activities within the riverfront area, meeting the requirements at 10.022B1 or 2, any activity proposed or undertaken which will remove, fill, dredge, or alter the area is subject to regulation and requires filing of a notice of intent. This is so minor. So would this be a minor activity?
Mhm.
It would, uh, it would seem so, being a replacement as opposed to a newly constructed structure.
Yeah, and so I guess one thing I'm thinking is like all of this work is taking place um basically on the footprint of you the existing gas line pretty much, right?
Right.
It's not like, it's not like creating a new gas line off into some other, it's like where gas lines already are.
No, and that's a good point, because our additional structure is going to be over where our existing gas main is. So we already do have facility in the ground there too. So it's not like we're going outside the footprint, so to speak.
Just curious, do you know if this is in bordering land subject to flooding? Are there any flood storage capacity issues with displacement of recharge? Do you know for MBLSF?
No, actually, water infiltration is a reason that we're making it above ground as opposed to the pits that we have now.
Okay.
There are a lot, a few places around our area that, we get water in those pits, and, it becomes kind of a nuisance. It surprisingly doesn't hinder the operation of the regulator, but it's a nuisance to maintain. So we're gradually going to above ground regulators throughout our area.
So I'm trying to decide if we made a negative determination on the RDA, which which negative determination would apply. Negative determination type 1 is that it is not in an area subject to protection under the Act, so that's not it. 2 is it's within an area subject to protection under the Act, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area. Therefore, said work does not require filing of notice of intent. 3 is that it's within the buffer zone, but will not alter an area subject to protection. 4 is that it's not within an area subject to protection or a buffer zone. 5
Travis,
says
what was number 1?
1 is that the area described in the request is not an area subject to protection under the Act or the buffer zone. 5
Well,
says
if it's exempt, would it not be?
sorry,
I was just thinking, if it was exempt, would it not be under jurisdiction?
I think
Yeah,
it's
well,
still in Riverfront, no matter how we slice it. I
Yeah.
think it's the
Yeah.
work is not maybe subject to the act because it would be exempt, but the site is in a resource area, but the work won't damage said resource area.
yeah.
Right.
Number 5 is motion to make a negative determination that the area described in the request is subject to protection under the Act. Since the work described therein meets the requirements for the following exemption as specified in the Act and the regulations, no notice of intent is required. List exempt activity. So if we believe there is an exemption, I think that's what we would do. And we could say maintenance of utility in riverfront area. Maintenance of existing utility in riverfront area, I guess.
Is it maintenance though, or replacement?
Well, it does say maintenance. I thought maintenance could include replacement.
Okay.
Because sometimes utilities, like they have to replace them with. Now I'm trying to find it again.
By the way, it looks like we are in the 100-year flood, but it's hard to tell because we just have the paper maps for this region. We don't have electronic maps. And so we would need to know the actual elevation. And it's probably on the fermet somewhere. So that's possibly riverfront area and BLSF. Oh, base flood elevation 513. Do we even have elevations on the plans?
No.
Okay, well, it's hard to tell on those paper formats. It looks like, according to the paper permit, it looks like it comes up to the road and over the road a little bit to the west.
So similarly, we we had a replacement that we did in North Adams just recently, and we were in the flood zone. I don't know if it was 100-year or if it might have even been 500-year, but we when we looked at the where the elevation took us, all our regulator manager said we needed to do was make sure that the relief vent was above that, so that if a flood came, it could flood over, the huts with the equipment inside them, as long as the relief vent was sticking out up above. And that is the plan on this this hut as well as the one we had just done in North Adams. That's actually, by the way, a much smaller vent than that one that we're going to be taking out in this situation. It's just a little pipe with a like a PEC vent that's going to stick out above the top of the hut. It'll come out of the back of the hut and stick out just above it.
Yeah, I don't know. So looking at the riverfront exemptions again, it does say maintenance of such structures or areas is allowed, including any activity which maintains a structure, roads, clearing, landscape, etc., in its existing condition without filing a notice of intent. Changes in existing conditions which will remove, fill, dredge, or alter the riverfront are subject to 310 CMR 1058, except that the replacement within the same footprint of structures destroyed by fire or other casualty is not subject to 310 CMR 1058.
So we're thinking it does not meet the exemptions now?
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't.
Do we need more time to look into this and see if it meets an exemption and maybe have our
I don't
agent
know.
look into it, or?
Yeah. It's tough because it's such a minor thing that it seems like it should be exempt.
I agree.
The letter of the Wetlands Protection Act seems like it's not.
What you just read sounded to me like it met the criteria right from that. Just what you read there, I thought that met the exemption.
Well, it said that it is required to be permitted under the riverfront area if it will alter the riverfront area, except when it's a replacement within the same footprint due to fire or other casualty. So, unfortunately, there hasn't been a fire on this site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it says any changes in existing conditions which will remove, fill, dredge, or alter the riverfront area are subject to like an NOI for riverfront area, except that the replacement within the same footprint of structures destroyed by fire or other casualty is not subject.
What about this, the first part of that subsection A that said if it was constructed prior to August 7th, 1996. Do we know how old this existing structure is?
Hmm.
I know it's increasing in square footage a little bit. But we're reducing the volume underground, so we're improving flood storage capacity in the BLSF.
Yeah. I can't give you the exact date that it was constructed, but it was well before 1996.
All right, tell me if this makes sense. So, Kristen, what you just said about how, the pits that they're gonna have that they have are gonna be filled in, so that would be more flood storage. So, I mean, essentially, what we're trying to do is determine um, whether the riverfront area is going to be altered, meaning what the interest of the riverfront area are going to be changed. So, I mean, it almost seems like you could make a negative determination type 2 that the work is within an area subject to protection, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area, using the understanding that the the end result is not going to be a worse riverfront area than it is now. If
I like that one, and I always struggle over that because it's filling and dredging, but it says or altering. So if it's our opinion that it's not altering, even though there's filling and excavation, there's no negative alteration to the resource area. So if we can agree on that, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that the pit that's behind the guardrail down closer to the river, that one's being completely disbanded, right?
Yes.
So without that, then the footprint seems like it would actually be smaller because we're completely disbanding one of them. So
and it's all within the existing footprint of existing gas mains, where I mean they have the right to go in and dig it up and maintain the lines anyway. You know, I don't know. Without doing an NOI.
So that would be a negative determination number 2.
Yeah. And I think that's what we did for the hotel project in Riverfront area.
Just to reiterate, there are no bat roosting trees or important shade trees that are proposed to be removed. The square footage, from what I understood, is increasing a little bit, but we're reducing the underground storage. So improving flood storage capacity.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm ready to make a motion for a negative determination number 2 for 165 Montague City Road.
Second that.
Okay. Negative motion type 2 made by Kristen, seconded by Erica. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Okay, not hearing any more discussion. I will do a roll call vote. Erica? Kristen?
Aye.
And I am also a yes. So the motion passes for a negative determination type 2. One thing I will add is that in looking at our Greenfield Wetlands Protection Ordinance, we basically have the exact same jurisdictions as the Wetlands Protection Act, plus some additional things. So I kind of feel like we should do one under the ordinance too. So I don't know if one of you wants to make a motion for the Greenfield ordinance as well.
Will you mind just addressing what some of the additional layers of protection are under the city ordinance that aren't listed in the
Oh,
act?
yeah, I mean, basically the only things that are additional are, it does kind of vaguely say there's a riverfront area around intermittent streams. It does say that any of the resource areas listed, whether or not they border surface waters, are covered. So isolated wetlands would be covered. I don't think there's anything that applies in this situation. And then we have the 25-foot no disturb zone, but this is further than 25 feet from the river. So, I mean, I think in this case, it's the exact same jurisdiction as, as the Wetlands Protection Act. So it seems kind of ridiculous, but it seems like we would have to do the motions for everything twice, once for the Wetlands Protection Act and once for the ordinance, which we haven't really been doing, but essentially in those situations, we're just like, acting as if it doesn't even apply, I guess.
I'll make a motion to, for a negative determination, number 2 under the city ordinance for 165 Montague City Road.
Second.
All right, motion made by Kristen, seconded by Erica for a negative determination type 2. Any further discussion? Oh, on the ordinance, I should say, for the ordinance. All right, not hearing any more discussion, put it up to a roll call vote. Erica?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
And I am also an aye, so that also passes. All right, so thanks, Wes, for sticking around through our long deliberation about this, but
I appreciate it very much. Thank you, guys.
all right, and I guess Mitch will probably be in touch with you about paperwork.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering if I'd have some documentation, I guess.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay, great. And then, at that point, it's been customary for me just to notify somebody when the erosion control is put up, so in case you wanted to come out and inspect it. So I'll be sure to do that.
Yeah, that sounds great. All right. Do you have any other questions at this point?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, we can move on to the next item on our agenda, which is other business and enforcement updates.
Right. Thanks again, guys.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
So, Mitch, do you want to go through other business and enforcement updates?
Sure. Well, I think, Chris, you could start us off with the partial COC.
Oh, the partial release?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just a partial release for Birdie Drive, 123 Birdie Drive.
Okay.
I built a new home, and because the rest of the subdivision, the road hasn't been approved yet, I just need a partial release for the one.
Okay. Mitch, do you have documents and pictures that you could share since you were the one who did the site
Yeah,
visit?
sure. What do you want to go through the?
I guess just walk us through everything real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, I was looking at the COC form, and it says the following portions of the work regulated in the order have been satisfactorily completed, and then the answer just says 26, and I didn't know what that meant. Is that lot
It's
123?
lot 26. It's this one.
Okay,
It's at 123.
okay.
Got some pictures we could show. Just kind of an overview of the area. Not much to add. It's just covered in straw, looks like.
And do we know, I'm pretty sure on the original order of conditions, there was there was like a line on the plan that I think is like the 200-foot riverfront area
Yes,
that is all of the building and lawn outside the riverfront area.
yes.
And so just to like help fill in the other the other commissioners here, my understanding is that there was an order of conditions for the entire subdivision essentially, and then there was never a certificate of compliance for the entire subdivision, and so specific
Correct.
parcels, at least like 3 or 4 so far, have gotten partial COCs to say that their
Yeah.
part of the subdivision is complete.
With this next house, then I will be completed and petition the town, and then I will get a full release from the town, and I'll file for it.
Okay.
That's how it works. I have to have the road. I have to have everything completed. All of the properties have to be built for the acceptance. Then I can get a full release.
Okay, and so I guess that's why
It's a
there's this
partial.
partial COC, and there have been previous partial COCs on other parcels in this subdivision.
Right.
Are the orders extended? I mean, these are from 2005.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Complied
Is
with
that,
it.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I've complied with it. That's what it said had to be done, that pins had to be put in for the 200-foot stream buffer, which was done on all the lots, all done through. And I stayed out of it, out of the work area with this one also.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that there, so typically the order of conditions, they last for 3 years. And then if you're not going to get your final certificate of compliance until after the 3 years, then you need to extend, you have to come back for an extension. And I don't believe that that was done in this case. I don't believe there have been multiple extensions to get us to present day.
Right.
There was like a huge gap, and then they came back to us sometime when Sarah was with us, and she worked something out. I don't remember if it was an extension, or I can't remember exactly what she worked out.
Do the orders have to be valid in order to issue a partial COC?
I didn't understand that. Until the road is accepted by the town, I'm told that I have to do the partials this way.
Mitchell, I guess that was more a question for you.
I had asked Eric about extensions and if he should get one first, and his stance was kind of, at this point, there's been some partial COCs without an extension, and just to go with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what I've learned, I wasn't around when this project was being permitted initially, but what I've learned is that essentially there was I think one of the parcels, there was some work that was going into the riverfront area that wasn't initially on the plan or something, and then other houses were being sold and they couldn't sell them because they didn't have a COC yet. And so instead of the entire property being the entire subdivision getting the word is not in my mind right now. Instead of like trying to get an order of conditions for the entire property, which couldn't happen because there were ongoing issues, there were partial COCs for some of the properties where there weren't problems. I believe that's how the deal was worked out, I guess, so that it wasn't punishing all of the lots. But yeah, I'm also not sure about like if you have an expired order of conditions, like what happens then? You know, how do you make it right after your order of conditions is expired? I mean, I almost wonder, is it, um, is it supposed to be that a new NOI is filed on work that was already completed in order for it to be current, and then have an order of conditions? Or have a,
But the work was,
yeah, I mean, the problem, the biggest problem is that the, um, is that the order of conditions that the Conservation Commission gave you expired, and what should have happened was you should have requested an extension on those until the building was complete, and that apparently didn't happen. Um, so we're trying to figure out how, because normally what would happen is, like, while your order of conditions is still valid, either it hadn't expired or it had been extended, then you would come and get a certificate of compliance. But once it's expired without any extensions, then that puts us in a little more of a complicated position, I think. Erica, does that all sound like what has happened with this project in the past? I think you were the only one who was probably around when this.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't around when it originally started, but the
Yeah.
last couple of houses, I think so. I'm like I said, I can't remember exactly what Sarah worked out, but I know there was some discussion because the original order was, I think, for the development, and then there were actually no orders for the houses. So there was some kind of discrepancy between that. But I think we have been doing like partial COCs on them.
I'm looking at the original order of conditions right now.
yeah, see, the order of conditions that you're also reading are recorded on each one of these deeds.
Yeah,
That's why I need a release,
yeah.
partial release.
How many lots are left for you to build out there?
Just one more.
And the road, or just one lot?
I just need one more lot. Yeah, which I'm working on it right now. Yeah. The house is all up, so I'm almost completed. I filed in the heritage, and they're doing all the work now for the taking of the road, and then this will be completed. That's the problem. I needed to have the road completed to get the sign off for this. Because it originally was all done. The detention pond, everything was all approved.
Mm.
Yeah, when I read the conditions, I mean, everything's supposed to be out of the 200 foot, which you said it was. What about marking the the boundary there. It said that there were supposed to be
is.
pins in there so that the owners would not go past it.
Correct.
I don't know, Mitch, I don't know if you saw them when you out there.
No, I wasn't sure where they were.
There's one of those houses out there we did have a problem with. We ended up, I think it was out there. We ended up having to have them put boulders or something so they wouldn't pass the. I think it was there. Maybe it was a different place.
Yeah, that's what I was told, was that property, that's the one where there was disturbance going into the riverfront area at the same time as the other properties were trying to be sold, and that's why the other ones got partial COCs, because that one still needed to be fixed. Like the problems needed to be fixed still, so there wasn't one for the entire property.
Are there deed restrictions on each lot? Or I'm not sure what that was referencing in the orders about deed restrictions.
There is deed restrictions on each lot, yes. And it shows right on the plan that if you have it there, that they came out and looked at this before I built, and they saw the pins. Eric Torres actually come out and looked at it.
Was this all the information that was in? I mean, I was kind of looking for building plans or whatever of the actual building, and there didn't seem to be anything.
Yeah, it's all on the building plan.
Do you have a copy of the building plan you could give us?
I do have another one, yes.
Or would you happen to have like a digital copy of it, or you just have a paper copy?
That I don't. That I don't. I don't have a digital copy of it now. But it should be in the building department. It's in there. I know it is. Because that's what they approved for me to build. They come out and looked at it, and I had to stay within those guidelines.
I kind of feel like maybe we don't have enough information right now, because I feel like we need, there were restrictions about like where the building could be, and I think without like a plan showing us exactly where the building is and where the lawn cutting is in relation to the riverfront area, it's hard for us to determine whether the conditions have been met or not.
And I think a site walk is generally in line with approving a COC request, correct? Have any of the commissioners been out there?
Well, Mitch invited us to one
Okay.
on Saturday, but I don't think anyone could attend.
Okay, but he didn't notice the markers.
So he ended
No,
up
I just-
canceling on Saturday because of the rain. I'm not sure what. I think he went. Mitch, did you go Monday? I think you said.
I went on Monday, yeah, because no one could make it, but I just took pictures from the road.
Okay, I wasn't sure what time you were going. I was gonna go to the Saturday one, but.
Oh, okay. I didn't see your RSVP.
Is this project connected in any way to 131 Verde Drive?
It's next door to it, yes.
Is that yours as well? Did you get a partial COC for that lot?
No, not yet.
Okay. Because there's a 2021 NOI in the project folder on the Google Drive for that lot.
Correct.
So then maybe, unless that's a separate NOI, do we have new orders for the subdivision, or are we doing new NOIs for each lot and there's separate orders for each? Like, I'm confused about, you know, what that's all about.
What was the address on that one that you were just mentioning?
131. And there's a 2021 notice of intent.
I was going to move the house back in. I didn't have much of an envelope into the waterfront area and filed it. And then I came to the board and they said that they didn't want me to do that. So I withdrew it
Oh, okay.
and I moved the house out of it and I was given the building permit.
That was one where you were changing the plan from the original plan of where to put the house.
Right, correct.
Mhm.
Well, at any rate, it seems like the order that we needed to ensure compliance with wasn't checked off, correct?
Excuse me? I didn't hear that.
That's a question for Mitch. The order that we would be issuing a partial certificate of compliance for, which was the markers are installed, wasn't looked at, so we can't even vote on this, correct? Am I understanding that correctly?
I'm not understanding what you're.
Chris,
I think
where are the markers?
I actually don't know anything about this project. This was before my time, so I'm not sure.
I just noticed that in the orders, that was one of the conditions, that there had to be at least 3 pins marking the 200-foot boundary there to prevent encroachment on the.
I noticed one post. I don't know if that was for something else though.
The one on the left side is the left side of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the one on the right goes against 115 Verde, and that's by the pine tree way in the back. Yes.
Yeah, and it's in one of the photos as well.
So the orders, Chris, state a minimum of 3 pins. How many were in the end installed out there on this lot?
They were all installed back in '05. They were all put in on all the lots back then.
How many?
Three pins on each lot.
Is this the pin? Can you see my screen?
Yes, that's one
These?
right there.
Okay.
Yep. That's the one closest for the road, and then the other ones go off way out into the woods, the one on the right side. Let's see another view. There's one about in the middle of the house in the back.
Okay. I didn't go
feet in the
back there
woods.
just because I
There,
didn't meet with you.
on this side here, on that last picture right there that showed the right side, there's a big pine tree back there. Yes, that's where the other pin is. There's a big pine tree in the back. Yep,
What
which
are
you
the pins,
probably can't.
what are they constructed of?
Excuse me?
What are the pins constructed of?
They're iron pins, survey pins.
They're iron? Okay. It's hard to see in the photo.
Mitch, can you go back to the other pin, the one that you asked if it was a pin?
And there's a stake there. Where is it? Right there. Yep.
That's just a piece of iron rebar sticking out of the ground.
Yep, there's a pin there, and yes, that there, and then there's also a stake there. Yes, that was marked when I had the conservation guy do it. That's one there, and then there's one on the other side. Yep.
So that
Oh, I
means
see.
that everything past that pin is riverfront area and was not
Yes.
supposed to be disturbed.
Yeah.
Into the woods. Yes.
Yeah, but it does.
Yeah.
But in this picture, we can see that the woods doesn't go right up to that pin, and there's
No.
some dumping back there. There's
Yeah.
and dumping's not allowed in the riverfront area. I don't think either.
Some skids from way back, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, there is some stuff there.
So there's clearing beyond the pin and dumping beyond the pin, right?
There was no clearing beyond the pin. No. No, not at all.
So that land was already cleared when the pin was put in.
Yes. Way back. Yeah.
So I was just reading the conditions on the original order of conditions, and it says the applicant shall survey the 200-foot riverfront line and shall place pins to demarcate it in order to put future owners on notice of where the line is. There shall be a minimum of 3 pins per lot, one on each side and one in the middle of the property.
Correct.
It's weird. It's weird to me. I'm saying this to the other commissioners. It's weird to me that it doesn't say anything about like not mowing beyond those pins, in those conditions.
Is that something you could put in a COC as an ongoing in perpetuity condition? And also, I would recommend putting in our boilerplate general conditions, if it's not already there, that the orders and COC should be recorded so that it's attached to the deeds, if it's not already in there.
It is attached to the deed already on every
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah, and that is in the conditions.
It's in the, it's in a boilerplate, okay.
I don't know. Can you add like more conditions like that on a COC, like beyond the conditions in the original order of conditions?
Yeah, there can be conditions in perpetuity.
Hmm.
I think. Question for Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, I know you can add conditions in perpetuity on the order of conditions. I just didn't know if you could add additional ones beyond what was in the original order of conditions.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Like if it wasn't on there already.
gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, that is weird that the purpose of that final condition isn't explained. It's sort of dangling.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, whether or not it says that you shouldn't disturb riverfront area, it's still part of the Wetlands Protection Act that you shouldn't disturb riverfront area. So I guess that notifies the people living there where the riverfront area is.
Well, it does say in number 10, it says the deed restriction shall be placed on the lots located within the 200 riverfront area, stating there shall be no work or cutting of vegetation within the riverfront area, outlined in the letter dated January 7th, 2005. So I guess it does state that.
So I believe for the Wetlands Protection Act, I think the Wetlands Protection Act says that we have to issue a certificate of compliance or deny it within 21 days.
Mhm.
But condition.
And then it does say in the general conditions number 8 that they should be recorded at the Registry of Deeds. So they will be attached to each lot. It's good.
Mitch, do you know what date we received the request for certificate of compliance? I'm just trying to figure out what our requirements are.
Yeah, it was sometime last week, I think.
The Wetlands Protection Act says, upon written request by the applicant, a certificate of compliance shall be issued by the issuing authority within 21 days of receipt thereof. So it sounds like it's 21 days from the date that we receive it, not necessarily 21 days from right now.
It looks like in the details view on the Google Drive, it's dated April 1st. I don't know when that was issued by the applicant, but that's when it was uploaded potentially to the Google Drive.
It's probably the same day, I'm guessing.
So that would be before our next meeting.
Is that 21 calendar days or 21 business days, or does it say?
It just says shall be issued within 21 days of receipt thereof. Which the fact that it's 21 makes me think that it includes weekends, because then that would be 3 weeks.
So that is Thursday of next week.
So can you remind me of your plan again? You said there's one more house that you're going to build on the site, and then you were going to come back for a certificate of
The whole.
compliance for the whole.
Yes,
The whole.
that would be 131 is the last one. Yes.
Okay. So I was just looking up there's this enforcement manual for Wetlands Protection Act, and one section says expired orders of conditions. Permits that have expired cannot be extended. Applicants may only request an extension of an order before it expires. The holder of an expired permit must submit a new notice of intent and receive a new order of conditions. Working pursuant to an expired order is the same as working without a permit. So it sounds like if you're still planning on building another house, your original order of conditions has expired and you would need to submit a new NOI. Since the
original order of conditions was to the detention pond and the whole thing. That's why they had me put all the pins and everything and meet the criteria with what I did. And if I stayed out of it, and if I stayed out of the 200 foot,
yeah, the only part that makes it not not meeting the current requirements is that the original order of conditions expired and it was not, you didn't request an extension, and so it expired. And so that original order, basically you're not allowed doing any work under that original order of conditions anymore because it basically doesn't exist anymore. You know, like there would need
Right,
to
it's
be
recorded on the deed. I didn't have to request anything.
Yeah,
It's in
but-
the deed. If I don't go into the area, I'm not in it.
Yeah, and in order to get it off the deed, I believe you would need to submit a new notice of intent and get a new order of
But I don't,
conditions.
they're not gonna go off the deed. They have to stay on the deed because they're within the 200-foot riverfront.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, what I meant was in order for it to be cleared that you have a certificate of compliance for the work. Does that make sense to the other commissioners? And to me, that's the same with this house, is that it seems like a new notice of intent would be needed. Otherwise, how do we issue a certificate of compliance on an expired order of conditions? Kristen, it looked like you wanted to say something.
No, I don't know. I was just gonna go back to, that issue aside, do we feel like we have enough information that we would be able to decide one way or another on a partial COC for that one lot today?
Hmm. My cat is knocking things down in my house.
I personally don't feel that we do have enough information to issue with that expired orders aside, just because I can't see, the conditions number 10 and 11, which were kind of the most important ones. I can't really tell in the site photographs, and I was not available to attend the site walk, so I'm not comfortable issuing a partial COC just based on the fact that I can't tell whether those conditions were met. The bigger issue aside, just that all by itself. That's where I stand. Didn't Cassie go out there? Did she walk that whole line maybe? And does she have other photos or anything?
Excuse me?
Sorry, that was a question for Mitch, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Cassie was a previous conservation agent.
She
I
did
mean,
walk out
no.
through it.
think I found some photos from last April.
Okay, that would be good. I was just trying to find more about the issuing a certificate of compliance on an expired order of conditions, and it seems like, I mean, I don't know. I can't find anything that says that you have to request a certificate of compliance while the order of conditions is still valid. You just have to do all the work while the order of conditions is still valid, I think. Mitch, I don't know if you're if you're sharing. You're not sharing your
No,
screen,
but
I guess.
yeah,
Is what I'm
I
saying.
can.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure in case you were going through photos that you thought we were seeing.
I was just looking at them.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any pins in these, but looks like it's more the backyard. So I don't know if those help.
Hmm. Do you know what lot that was on? Was that this same lot?
Yeah, it's 123.
Okay. So I don't know. I kind of feel like on this property, you know, in the Wetlands Protection Act for a certificate of compliance, it says what I said about we have to do it within 21 days. Prior to issuance of certificate of compliance, a site inspection shall be made by the issuing authority, which did happen. Mitch went on a site visit. If the issuing authority determines after review and inspection that the work has not been done in compliance with the order, it may refuse to issue a certificate of compliance. Such refusal shall be issued within 21 days of receipt of a certificate of compliance. Shall be in writing and specify the reasons for denial. If the project has been completed in accordance with plans stamped by a registered professional engineer, architect, landscape architect, or land surveyor, a written statement by such a professional person certifying substantial compliance with the plans and setting forth what deviation, if any, exists from the plans approved in the order shall accompany the request for certificate of compliance. I'm assuming that this house was built according to plans by a professional engineer, architect,
Yes,
etc.
yes.
And did you, it says that a written statement by such a professional certifying compliance with the plans and setting forth the deviations, if any, exist. approved in the order shall accompany the request for certificate of compliance. So do you have a letter from an architect that the architect or engineer certifying that this was built according to plan?
Yeah, he's a registered engineer. And
Yeah.
I do have an as-built plan that shows the house on the plan.
Okay, so what the Wetlands Protection Act says is that when you request a certificate of compliance, you also need to submit a letter from the architect or engineer saying that this project was completed according to the plan.
Okay. But that's the whole plan.
Well,
That would-
if you're getting a partial certificate of compliance, you would still need them to certify that this part of the plan was completed according to plan.
Okay.
So I think that's missing from your application, which is part of the reason it's hard for us to.
But
make a
that's why this is a partial. It's not a full release.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but it is a full release for this parcel. So if we went ahead and said, yes, this is a partial COC, then that absolves you of anything, related to this parcel.
Okay. Okay.
So that's why that's my understanding. Does that make sense to other commissioners?
That makes sense to me, and I do just want to ask again, that photo 7508 that shows the pin and the stake, it looks like there's clearing beyond the pin, and I'm still confused by that. Wasn't there supposed to be no clearing beyond the pin, or is that associated with an enforcement or something before? I don't understand. Or is that photo misleading? I can't tell. It looks like there's maybe 20 feet of bare ground between that pin and the edge of the forest, and then there's a bunch of pallets and stuff dumped on the edge of the forest.
So to me, it sounds like if we don't have the letter from the engineer, architect, or whoever, then the application isn't complete according to the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay.
But then I'm not sure about, you've still submitted it though, which means that we would need to give you a response within 21 days. But I think that means we would have to reject it.
I'm not sure if it is submitted, if not everything is submitted.
If not everything is submitted, then it's not officially submitted.
Right. I think that's what Eric said. Just kind of, once you get the final thing, then it's submitted, then the 21 days
Okay.
starts.
So
I think. I don't know.
Yeah. So I guess, Chris, would you be able to get a letter like that and submit it and then come back to either the next meeting or the one after that?
I guess I'm going to have to.
Okay. And if you also have copies of the original plan, if you could submit that as well, that would be extremely helpful too.
Okay.
Like the original plan and what was built.
Okay, I'll get on it.
Okay. Before you go, do the other commissioners, does that make sense? The way this is the way this is going with it not being officially submitted unless we get that. I'm just not sure about the 21-day time period because that's before our next meeting. If it does count as being submitted right now.
Right, so you're thinking about calling it an incomplete application right now?
Yeah, I guess so. If that's a thing, if that's a thing that we could do.
Well, I thought Chris said that if it wasn't complete, then it really wasn't submitted. So
Yeah.
then the 21 days would start over again, I guess.
Or it hasn't started yet because we
Yeah.
haven't actually received the full.
Right. Once we get everything else.
Yeah, because it says a written statement. Where did it go? A written statement shall accompany a request for certificate of compliance.
Did this request go to the DEP as well as the commission? Just curious.
Chris, did you just send this to us or did you send this to DEP too?
No, just to you because it's only a partial release. I'm doing what I was told to do, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
I would suggest that gives us more flexibility on calling that an incomplete filing for now.
Yeah. I guess what I'm thinking is like just to cover the bases, if Chris withdrew the current request and then resubmitted it again with the letter, if that would be I don't know, more appropriate route. I don't know. I guess we can say it's incomplete because we don't have everything that's supposed to be accompanying it. I don't know. Something feels wrong about doing that though. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem like the right way to do it. Okay, so here's what I think. This is what I'm thinking. Like I'm thinking the two options are either we deny it because it doesn't have a written statement from the architect or engineer as required, or Chris withdraws it and then resubmits it with that letter. I think those two options seem like the most like by the book.
What would Chris need to do to withdraw it? Would it just be a verbal statement in an open meeting, or
That's a good question. I think so, because I think we've had people, I don't know if it was a COC. We've had people withdraw things verbally, like I think like an extension on a order of conditions, like filed for it and then withdrew it. I'm not sure.
does that sound good to you, Chris?
Yeah, I can get the letter. I'll have the letter come in. He already did the as-built plan. I could bring it in tomorrow and show it to Eric. It's all stamped plan.
In order to restart that 21-day clock, though, would you be amenable to withdrawing your existing COC request and then refiling it all together in a couple of days?
Well, then I'm going to be out another 3 weeks.
Well, the problem is it was submitted it was submitted on the 1st, apparently. Does that sound right to you that you submitted it on the 1st?
I did this submitted on the 1st. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that means either the 21 days starts then, which means we would need to approve or deny it by the 22nd, which is before our next meeting. So either it started then and we have to do it before our next meeting, which means we have to do it now, or it doesn't start until you submit everything fully, which means the 21 days wouldn't have started yet anyway. So I think if the 21 days has already started, then we would have to deny it at this meeting, or in my opinion, I would deny it. And so I guess if you do not want to withdraw your current one, we can vote on whether to deny it or not. Whether to accept it or deny it.
Okay.
So I guess just my clarifying question is whether you want to withdraw it and resubmit it, or if you want us to vote right now whether to accept it or deny it.
I went in the office and I did everything that I was told to do. Okay? So if you want to deny it, you go ahead and deny it. I will take appropriate actions. That's up to you.
Okay.
I'm not comfortable right this minute to approve it because, you know, it's kind of missing some information. I'd like to see the plans, missing some information, and there's no certificate or letter from the engineer or the architect. So, I mean, I'm kind of with Travis. So,
If you're comfortable making a verbal statement, just temporarily withdrawing it until you have that information, then we don't have to vote tonight. We can wait. And then you don't have a potential denial.
See, this is a partial. It's not a full release. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the thing is though that like a partial just
And in
means
the
that.
original,
Sorry, go ahead.
in the original paperwork, if you look at it, where it shows recording of the pins and everything, it says it does not need to be by an engineer because it was already done. You look what it says in the paperwork. Read the wording in it.
Okay, yeah,
Right by
sorry.
the DEP.
When we were asking about the engineer, we were asking about the house being built and, you know,
Correct.
the entire lot and whether that was a plan that was created by an architect or engineer.
Yes, it was. And it was submitted and you guys signed off on it for me to get a building permit.
Okay, and that all sounds perfectly legit. And
Right.
then the only thing that we need then is a letter from that architect or engineer,
Okay.
whoever it was, saying that it was done according to plan or how it deviated from the plan.
Okay. Okay.
And so if we don't have that, because that, I mean, the Wetlands Protection Act says that you shall submit it, which means that it has to be submitted. So I think that ties our hands to where we can't accept it unless we have that, because that's part of the requirement for the application.
Okay.
So, so then that goes back to, you know, if the 21 days has already started and it's before our next meeting, the only option we have in this meeting is to deny it because, I mean, in my opinion, because we don't have the required paperwork. But again, if you wanted to withdraw it and resubmit with that letter, you would be on our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks, and you know, we can vote at that meeting whether to approve or deny it because we'll have all of the required information.
I'm going to have to see Eric tomorrow morning.
Okay. Someone want to make a motion? Or are there any other questions for the applicant?
well, if we're not going to withdraw it to wait, then I'm going to have to make a motion to deny it at this point due to lack of all the necessary information.
Hold on a second. Let me just double check what I was looking at in the Wetlands Protection Act. Let me find this again. Wetlands Protection Act is a very long document. Yeah, so I mean, I'll just read that. So I'm looking at 1005 9A or 1005 9, which is certificates of compliance. D says if a project has been completed in accordance with plans stamped by a registered professional engineer, architect, landscape architect, or land surveyor, a written statement by such a professional person certifying substantial compliance with the plans and setting forth what deviation, if any, exists from the plans approved in the order shall accompany the request for certificate of compliance. And 10059C says if the issuing authority determines after review and inspection that the work has not been done in compliance with the order, it may refuse to issue a certificate of compliance. Such refusal shall be issued within 21 days of receipt of a request for a certificate of compliance, shall be in writing, and shall specify the reasons for denial.
So you want me to withdraw?
I mean, essentially, it would be the same thing whether you withdraw it or if we vote and we vote to deny it. Either way, it's the same outcome where you need to resubmit it with a letter from the architect or engineer certifying that it was done according to plan. I think it would actually be quicker if you. I'm trying to think this through. So if we deny it, we have to issue that denial in writing. So that would require Mitch on his next workday to write it up and send it to you. And then you could, submit it again after you receive that written denial. I'm just trying to think of what makes the most sense to make this move forward as quickly as possible for you too.
Yeah. Okay, then I'll withdraw it.
Okay. And then, like I said, if you get a letter from an engineer, architect, and if you also have copies of the plans to go with that, that would be extremely helpful for us to determine whether we can approve this
Okay.
partial COC. And if you submit it, if you get all this done soon, we have a meeting in 2 weeks, so it won't be that much. It won't be that much waiting.
Okay.
So, okay. Unless you have any other questions for us.
No.
Okay. Well, we'll probably see you at the next meeting then.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. Mitch, other business.
What is this? We got Griswold.
Griswold. Yeah, so Um, I think we were planning on just kind of going over what we discussed at the hike at Griswold. But it might make more sense if more commissioners were here. So maybe we can postpone that to our next meeting.
Right, because Fletcher and Rachel weren't there, so they're really
Yeah.
key to fill them in. All right, gotcha.
And kind of the same thing with the next one on the agenda, Greenfield's Wetland Protection Ordinance Guidance Documents. I think Mitch sent a link to our webpage, essentially, that has he uploaded the NOI form for projects that are Greenfield Wetlands Ordinance only. And then also in the guidance documents that tell people how and when to do an RDA and NOI, there's some language in there specifying when things apply to the Wetlands Protection Act, when it applies to the ordinance, or both, essentially. So I guess take a look at those, and again, maybe we can talk about those in more detail at our next meeting. Unless anyone feels they need to go over it in depth right now. Okay. Mitch, do we have any topics not reasonably anticipated within 48 hours?
No.
Okay. And are there any enforcement updates?
Yeah, so there was this thing at Greenfield Community College I got a call about. Basically, on College Drive Road, they extended the mowing area, and they've been encroaching into what looks like some like wetland sedges. I've just been trying to get in contact with their groundskeeper and just haven't been able to get a response. So I have some pictures, but I just wanted to see what you guys were thinking, how to proceed.
Did they clear any woody veg, or is that all emergent?
No, I don't think there was any woodies.
Okay. And it's like a 10-foot encroachment, or
Yeah, or a little more. I'll get a picture.
it's weird that the wetland would go to the edge of the grass in the first place. Kind of makes me wonder if they've been slowly encroaching for a long time.
Yeah, so this is kind of the original mowing area, and then kind of been moving further into the wetland.
So that's cattails right there on the
Oops.
edge, which are pretty wet. So, or is that? I can't tell.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. So yeah, I just sent them a couple emails just saying just stop altogether or just stop for now and submit an RDA, but I just haven't gotten a reply.
And who exactly did you send it to?
I think it's their groundskeeper basically, and then I sent one just kind of their main email, and then they directed me to that same person.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. Do you have like a phone number for the person or?
No, I just saw an
No.
email. Oh, wait, no, there was a phone, but I couldn't connect through phone either.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, we don't. I haven't had one in a while where people don't respond to our to our initial.
There was no earth disturbance, right? It was just mowing.
Just mowing, yeah,
Well, that's good. And no woody stuff taken down.
yeah.
It's just surprising because right at the edge of that cut line, there's cattails. And cattails are usually a pretty wet wetland plant. It's not like a transition zone plant, which kind of makes me wonder how far the wetland really goes into the grass. But who knows? There could be a culvert there, so it's hard to tell in a photo.
Hmm. Hmm. I'm looking through this. I found this enforcement manual for wetlands protection and that I had open from earlier, and I was like, oh, this is what date did you send that letter? Do you have a copy of that letter?
I didn't send a letter, I sent an email.
Oh, an email. Okay.
It's just, yeah, just kind of informally.
I mean, I guess my thought is the next step is like a letter on
Hmm.
Greenfield letterhead saying that, this appears to be a violation under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Greenfield City Wetlands Protection Ordinance, and cease all actions and submit an RDA like you already said. Um, I mean, I don't think we want to issue like an enforcement order or anything to like, I don't think we want to jump that far.
We could request they attend our next meeting.
Yeah. A representative attend the next meeting.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, maybe not even submit an RDA. We could just have them come to the next meeting and then we could talk about whether they need to submit an RDA.
right.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, letterhead, and I mean, I don't think it would hurt to um, copy some other people at GCC who might not be happy that
Hmm.
there may be enforcement pending for violations. I don't know.
Oh, like the president of the college?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about president, but like, some type of, yeah, administrative body at the college. I don't know. I don't know everyone who works there or anything, but the more people who see it, the more somebody might take action on it. I guess is
Right.
my thought.
I mean, it's just the one mailing address, though, right?
Probably you could send a copy by email too, like a PDF of the letter.
Right, and CC some people.
Yeah, that's I think sending an email and saying that you just sent this letter, see attached,
Mhm.
and then kind of briefly explain in the email what the letter is about. That would get more eyes on it.
Okay.
But I like Kristen's idea of just asking someone to attend our next meeting to talk about, talk about it.
Yeah,
If
like a
we-
cease all activity in the resource areas and attend our next
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah. Is that good enough?
Yeah,
Enough
thank you.
detail?
I
Okay.
think so.
We're all just guessing our way through this. I don't know.
Yeah, same.
Okay. So are there any other project monitoring correspondence or site visit scheduling?
Should we try to go again to 123 Verde?
I think it would probably be a good idea now that we know what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that I can't go this Saturday. I'm gonna be away.
Me too. I'm in New Hampshire.
Okay. I might be out the Saturday after that,
Okay.
but I already went.
Oh, and
So
Sunday's Easter, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
we could go on our own. We
Right.
don't have to have like a set time. Like I'm pretty sure.
yeah, I didn't go check out the back just because I couldn't get a reply from Chris to like
Mm,
schedule anything.
okay.
But the commission has the right to enter at any point,
Right.
even though,
I saw that, but then I was like, but it's also expired, so I wasn't sure.
right. I know, that's what I'm
Yeah.
wondering about that too.
And also he withdrew his thing, his request for certificate of compliance. So we don't even have that pending right now
Okay.
until he submits it again.
All right.
But I mean, I guess maybe that's the thing is we wait until he submits it again and then schedule something. Either schedule something or we can just go on our own after that. I mean, the only thing is that in the Wetlands Protection Act, it does say that a site visit will be done and that the applicant can have I forget what it said, like a legal representative there or something like that.
I kind of assumed that meant like an environmental consultant, but I suppose that could mean a lawyer.
Oh, it says
or a
in the presence of
landowner.
the applicant or the applicant's agent. So I think that just means the applicant or anyone they choose
Okay.
to be there in their place.
Okay.
It does say prior to the issuance of the certificate of compliance, a site inspection shall be made by the issuing authority in the presence of the applicant or the applicant's agent,
Oh,
which makes it sound like that has to happen. Like the applicant or the applicant's agent has to be there. It doesn't say like that the applicant or applicant's agent may be present.
Mhm.
I mean, I think the thing to do is just wait until he submits it again, and then we can try to schedule something.
We were doing some at like 4 or 5 o'clock. Now it's later. I don't know if people are available then or not during the week. Or...
It's a great point.
Yeah, I'm generally available like after 4 p.m.
Me too, if I have an office day. So that's a really good point.
So Mitch,
That might be
maybe
easier.
like,
I know.
yeah, maybe Mitch, when he resubmits it, if you could try to schedule something like during a business day, like 4 or 4:30 or 5, somewhere in there,
Yeah, that works.
a site visit. Okay. And really, as long as one of us can go, you know, Mitch, you don't even have to be the one to go. Like you don't even
Mhm.
have to go as long as one of us goes. So, okay. Hopefully that's enough about 123 Verde Drive for this meeting. Is there any other project monitoring correspondence and site visit scheduling?
That's it for me.
Okay. I also don't have anything further. Does anyone else have anything, even though we already skipped over it on the agenda? Any topic not reasonably anticipated within 48 hours?
I want to throw something out there to pin on the conversation about the ordinance. I'll throw it out now. I sent an email about this because I was thinking about it and I mostly just didn't want to forget. But I think it would be better discussed later with the rest of the commissioners present and when we're talking about future filings.
Yeah.
Just thinking about now that we have all this technology, reducing our paper waste. But we can think about that later. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, and I think when we had previously talked about making edits to the ordinance, I think we were talking about requiring people to submit things digitally and probably removing the part where it says they have to submit 7 paper copies or whatever it says.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we had talked about that. So once we get around to updating our ordinance, I think we're probably on board with that. We just got to make time for it. That's the hard part, like it's already 9 o'clock now. Like if we had to do another half an hour of ordinance review, that's a late meeting. All right. Well, I don't have anything else, so I would
I'll
take a
make a
motion.
motion to close at
Right.
9:08.
All right. The
Second.
motion seconded by Erica. There's no discussion on a motion to adjourn, so put it to a vote. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
and Travis, aye. All right. We are adjourned at 9:08.